Bearing in mind the fact that I no longer practice as a lawyer, you would obviously have to take anything I say in interpretation of the Constitution largely as the opinions of a retired lawyer, but at least I have a legal training that is a little above that of the average Nigerian who hasn't read law. Yes. And what I know as a fact is that what the president has done does not flow from any law known to Nigeria. It is peculiar that when the law grants any power, it also sets out the limits and boundaries of any such powers. The president has acted without constitutional backing. What he has done is an infraction of the Constitution, and in a space governed by law, impeachment proceedings should have proceeded against the president by now. He has no power to suspend an elected representative of the people. That is without prejudice to the contemptuous nature of Similari's emergence as governor. But the reality is that the moment he is deemed a governor under Nigerian law, the president does not have any power under the Constitution to remove him or his deputy or to suspend anyone in the manner that he has. And the Federal Executive Council does not have any constitutional power to make laws for Rivers State either. So what has happened is essentially a trialing of dictatorship. It is not something that we can discuss within the ambit of the law. We're not talking about something that is legal, that is lacking in legitimacy. We're talking about something that lacks both legitimacy and legality. So the president definitely hasn't acted within the law.
People point to what happened between, I believe it was Obasanjo and Fayose, when something similar happened. I don't know if you remember.
You know, there is something I strive to explain to our people.
Yes.
And it is the fact that pointing at the insanity of a previous ruler in justification of the madness or lunacy of current occupiers of power is essentially self-defeating.
Yes.
And let's not forget, it is about whether the Constitution allows something or not. For them to continually point at the errors made by past occupants of the office as though that excuses the clear illegalities and impunity of their own action is just a waste of time.
Yes.
That Obasanjo or this person or that person nobody did this particular one.
Yeah.
Tinubu did this.
Yeah. I think it's obvious from what is going on that the person who is orchestrating this whole event is Nyesom Wike.
Is it?
I
don't know if it's obvious, but what I do know is that Fubara and Wike were squabbling.
Yes.
The totality of the squabbles, as far as is in the public space, is about how to share the loot.
Yes.
Obviously, the president has taken side with his man, but to say Wike is the cause is to really take attention away from the fact that in a presidential system, the buck ultimately stops somewhere.
The president, yes.
If Wike is doing something, is fighting someone else, and the only person who gets punished is the person that the president does not even have the power to punish. The person who is his own appointee, that is the catalyst for the problem, is untouched. He still sits in the cabinet. But the governor, whom the president does not have the power to suspend, is the person the president has proceeded against. So he's actually, all these things we are doing, this discussion, is also trying to make sense of madness. That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make madness appear normal. So we are discussing it rationally as though these are things that should be happening in a democracy.
Yes.
Or to citizens. I really don't know.
How do you think it all ends for Wike? Because for me personally, I feel like he's allowed his, ego or whatever he has, the issues he has with Fubara to kind of become.
How it ends?
Yeah, how do you think it all ends for?
In a box. Everybody goes out in a box at the end of the day. Maybe if he's blessed, he might live as long as he has already lived, if he is blessed. But ultimately, regardless of how much you ride roughshod over people, how rich you are, how powerful you are, what you become or do not become, the only thing that is certain and predictable is death. Yeah. So no matter how long Mr. Wike might go around like an aspiring Hitler, it does not change the fact that a day will come and he will go the way of all mortals, including myself. So that's the only thing that is certain.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer to give, in the sense that when one comes across an kind of insurmountable obstacle, which Wike kind of seems like today,
Wike,
like he has the backing of he has the backing of the president. So it seems like he can do anything he wants to do and get away with it, no matter how crazy it may seem. That's how it looks like today.
Yeah, Yorubas have this proverb. They say that when the battered drum becomes strident, it is because it is about to tear asunder. The madness that is being orchestrated in rivers, we've seen it before.
Yes.
It happened in the First Republic. In actual fact, the powers that the president presumed to deploy yesterday were the powers available in the 1960 Constitution. They are not available in the 1999 fraud. The power to suspend the regional assembly and to remove a sitting premier, which was what was done to precipitate the crisis in the Western region in the lead up to the first coup of January 1966. It was the overreach of Tafawa Balewa as the Prime Minister of Nigeria intervening in the crisis in the Western region on the side of Akintola, his ally, that led to the collapse of the First Republic. When you make it impossible for the law to rule and impunity becomes a governing creed, instability becomes the result. All the political gladiators in Nigeria, the bit part owners of the different fiefdoms that have coalesced together in Nigeria, they're all watching and taking notes. What Wike and Tinubu are telling them is that the Constitution, useless as it is, does not offer any protection for them once the president or any one of his minions look in your direction. You have no constitutional protection. Yeah. That is what they have signaled. And when you find a place where people who have money but do not have power are told that they do not have constitutional protection, what you find is that each person begins to seek protection outside the confines of the law. Anarchy looms large as a function of what began yesterday.
Yes.
But it didn't really begin yesterday, now did it?
I do agree, sir. I do definitely agree.
Similarity wasn't the people's choice.
Yes.
Wike is the imperator. So, perfect recipe for disaster.
Yeah.